Hey, geek protagonist. Yes, yes, yes. You see the shirt. I actually don't have any DC hats. Uh, well, maybe I might have gotten some new ones. I used to have a Batman hat, but I think my ex stole it. Anyway, this is my power up review. I was going to wait to upload this, but I was like, no, it needs to be said because this is about Justice League Dark Apokolips War. Now, first thing is that eventually I'm going to figure out a way to dedicate a time where I literally start reviewing all of the DC cartoon movies because I think pretty much most of them are excellent, and I also want to do all the Marvel ones that they used to be. I actually think I own all of them. I don't. I'm talking about physical copies of the Marvel ones. I don't know if I have all the DC ones in physical. Yeah, I definitely don't. But I do have them. But I just don't have them physical, and I want them physical. But anyway, all right. So I just want to get through this thing. So here's my theory. I think that no, that's a spoiler territory. Okay, so we're just gonna be powering up. I'm gonna talk about just the feel, the things, and the stuff of the movie. So the movie definitely earns its rated R rating. It definitely needed it. And I noticed they've been turning it up since Superman like Doomsday too. Uh, or I'm sorry, not Superman Doomsday, Death of Superman of that movie. Now there is a chain of stuff that they call the DCA so it's like the DC animated or DCAU, DC animated universe. Sorry, and but it's like no, it's a DCAMU. So it's the DC animated movie universe. There we go, DCAMU. Sorry. Anyway, who cares? So they have a set of movies that are actually connected. Some are a little bit over here, some are connected to the other ones, but then there's a set of movies. A lot of them were Batman. Then they did like a Wonder Woman one where it's like kind of retelling her beginning story, but that was done differently. And we got to, after all this stuff, to the Apokolips War. This movie is intense. This movie is brutal. Um, it didn't feel like things were just placed in just because they had a rated R rating. It felt like it was necessary for the story they were trying to tell. Uh, it was rough. Like the things that happen, the stuff to do. This is really hard not to spoil, but they really went through a lot in this movie, as to say, like when you see what happens to some of the characters, you have to pay attention. As a matter of fact, there's been a couple of these things I've been watching. I want to rewatch it. I actually want to rewatch it because it was just that enjoyable. Also to see who I could see was getting, who was getting into the fights, who was getting torn up. It was an intense movie. You see Slickness, the dark side. You see how things go, and it's the end of this particular story arcs that they have set up. Everything led to this point, kind of thing. And of course, most of the movies were Batman. Funny enough, I was just getting a little annoyed because I'm like, there's other characters, but then they started focusing on Superman and then Wonder Woman, and Batman kind of had some side stories that I was very okay with. Overall, I still like it. But man, oh man, the action is fire. The stuff that goes on, the things that happen, how the story progresses, how it's cut. I felt it. It felt very interesting. There's characters that you see in there that were just introduced into this movie too, and it's like, oh wow, that character's there now. And I thought they were going to dive into certain things a little bit more by the time before they got to this point, but there was like a character that was introduced at the end of the Titans second movie. And it's kind of one of those things. And I noticed that a lot of the characters they had like second movies, if they were team up movies, they'd be like this movie and this movie, this movie and this movie. And usually one of the movies mixed with someone while the other one's more focused on the team. It was a good format. But there was a couple characters I was like, oh, I actually thought they were gonna jump into that a little deeper. Oh, okay. And they did not pull any punches. It didn't matter who you were. Uh, there were some great fight scenes. There was some good build up. There was some interesting. And one of the other cool things is they kind of took little nuggets from different storylines and used them, and it worked. It was like, okay, we got the Flash from this thing doing this, that over there. We got this thing from this thing over here. We got, ooh, remember the Superman thing over here. And all together, it was strong. And it was risky because I felt as though, wow, you're going to really end it here. And it felt kind of like an Infinity War Endgame situation, even to the end. And it was at the same time as like, okay, I think I see what you guys are doing now when I got to the ending. So I'm gonna give this my review. Honestly, I'm stuck between because it really actually hit me. Now, for some people, it may not hit them the same. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna be honest because there's I could see where some people may have a few problems because the movie's pacing did kind of go. But to me, it felt necessary, especially after you've seen some of the previous movies. And I like the flow they did. It was like they kind of copied that, but it was good. And I really like the story that they told. And it's like it's almost like you got a glimpse into this universe where you wanted more out of it, and they kind of left it on a high note where it was like, man, you know what? I could have wished, like I was like, I could have wished I had another Teen Titans, or I could have wished I got another Suicide Squad movie, or I wish I could have got another this. But they gave you enough that it didn't feel. It's just like, oh, I would love to have even more. But they left it at a place where it's like, okay, you're leaving it here, and I think I know where you're going, and I think there's a reason why you're ending this. So I'm gonna give this, and some of you may say this is too high. Honestly, I was anticipating this movie. I felt it delivered. It powering up. It blew my mind. I'm giving it the thing of blew my mind. I really like this movie. I really recommend it, but I do also recommend that you watch, at least look them up, because I think they even have them they actually have them situated on Wikipedia now. Watch all the ones that are connected to it. You can start, there's a couple movies ahead of it, but you can start with Flashpoint Paradox and work your way all the way through. But they actually have them all itemized really nicely last time I checked. Okay, so now the powering up's done. I'm gonna get to the powered up. This is the spoiler section. Get ready in 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness, this movie's fighting was insane. Yo, you see the things. First off, they got, instead of just having parademons, you got paradoomsdays. Yo, kids. There is kids in there talking about some yup, death. I was like, so this is what we're gonna do now, DC. So after Scorpion and you do this thing where you kill the kid, y'all just like, I don't care if you a kid, you could get it too. Yo, when I seen some of the younger ones and it was ripping them apart, it was crazy. You start seeing characters all over the place. It's like, yo, they're tearing into these fools, and it looks like they were eating them. I mean, Shazam took such a beatdown, like, which we haven't seen Shazam since the first movie. This dude lost his leg. He had a scratch on his face. He lost an eye. I was like, yo, your magic can't heal you? Because normally, from what I know of Shazam, if he goes back out and back in, he's usually his magic heals him. But that's how bad of a beating he was getting. There was people, like, you saw Zatanna get ripped apart. Constantine was dealing with stuff. You saw the characters just falling. When they went back, you see Superman, which that thing looks like it was from when Superman got powered up by kryptonite. Hold up, let me check. Okay, sorry. Camera had a wonkiness here. But like I was saying, Superman from the New 52, where he got hit with the kryptonite to power up, but went down, and it kind of looked like they took from that. The Flash looked like he was from Dark Knight Returns, with the running and powering up the city kind of thing. So that was Future's End with the Batman Beyond storyline from the comics, where, because Wonder Woman got her, like, she's fighting, arm ripped off, face, like, this whole thing got popped in. It looks like she took it and it broke her face. Coriander, or Starfire, she got ripped into, where you seen them like stab her, punch her. Mara got ripped in half, like, because what they did was they told a lot of story, but then sometimes they would go back like with a quick flashback, and you could see what was going on. So Mara got like ripped in half. Hawkman, when they showed it, he got hit, rings ripped off, all this stuff. It was freaking insane. Then you had this stuff like where it was like, as the story goes, they're trying to gather up everything. The Suicide Squad pops up, and you got a lot of characters from there that became their own thing. That was crazy. When you see like Lois became the tough person, like she did in Flashpoint, where she was like, but she's actually a fighter. You see Just so many things that they like kind of took nuggets from it. It was crazy. Then on top of that, what else stood out for me? Like when they was getting handled, because you even see characters tearing into them. Like, yeah, okay, parademons, and then they would just start getting overwhelmed. Batman in the Mobius chair, which was like from the comic book, where he got into the Mobius seat. I thought that was crazy. And Darkseid, because it is hot because most of his minions were dead between these movies, and things happen. He kind of became became his new Decide, and just with the story as it went through, how they were trying to gather the team. You got to see Swamp Thing do his thing for a second. That was awesome. Then you got to see them try to do a mission, and it was like almost hopeless. But then you see like the Suicide Squad do things. You find out Constantine's ex, which was hilarious, and you see like who's left of the Suicide Squad. You would think it would be this other person, but I was like, okay, they stood out, and like the weaponry and how they was doing stuff, and people was giving it to the Para Doomsdays, which is apparently Kryptonian DNA mixed with it. There makes a Doomsday, but like, and you see like some of the villains come in like Bane and stuff, which that stuff kind of reminded me a little bit of the deceased a little bit, with like who was left and how they became kind of good people with the Suicide Squad and how they were tearing into everything. That was crazy. When you see them get into the fight with Darkseid, which was nuts, because I thought they were going to have a moment and they took it from you, because he's like, I'm just going to go to Oa and do this. And all of a sudden, while he's doing this stuff, you see Darkseid is ripping Oa apart with all the Green Lanterns, and he got my boy Kilowog. That's my favorite Green Lantern. Hopefully one day I want a Kilowog t-shirt. That's yeah. Everyone likes John, Hal, Guy Gardner, Simon Baez, Jessica Cruz, all of them. My favorite Green Lantern is Kilowog, hands down. I will read a comic with Kilowog. I would actually put him on a team, Justice League, like the Justice League Odyssey. I would put him on there just if I could write it just to be Kilowog. Just to have Kilowog. Kilowog's awesome. But you see like the stuff happens, and it was crazy because as he's just ripping into him, he's talking, you see John sitting there going in brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight, and he's trying to get that power up from the ring because he needed a recharge, and he was going to give it to him. Then what made it crazy was Darkseid was like, take some of the Earth's magma and throw it on this. I'm like, what? I need to make a statement. I was like, that's crazy. Then they go through this whole other stuff with storylines. I'm not going to spoil everything. But one of my things is that you see the fight with Darkseid. Darkseid's at like a pretty good level. And if you remember him from Justice League War, you kind of see how Darkseid can do certain things. What made it crazier was the fact that they did the thing with Damian, Batman, the whole nine, which that was interesting in a good way. There was something that happens in the fight where Superman gets taken over to try to fight Darkseid or whatever, and you see the situation happens. Well, like I said, this is section spoiler. Like Batman kind of wakes up, his son is torn up. It was so heart-wrenching. And you see this thing where, Trigon and Superman, like I say, spoiler, so whatever. Trigon, Superman, they're doing the whole thing and giving it to him, Darkseid. And it's hot because I always wanted to see Darkseid versus Trigon because there's so much powerhouses where Darkseid's like the representation of all these things, but Trigon's like the lord of another dimension, and they're powerhouses. And you see like Raven going through stuff. It was very interesting. And I know I'm talking fast, but this is how exciting it was. So then you see Lois, because they're blocking off, and they're like, look, we can't let them come in here. This stuff, they got to get the way back. So they're talking, and they're trapped. And she starts talking to Clark. And she's like, look. And she starts talking to him about how she is. And you see him looking at her. And even though he's the Trigon thing right there, it was so cool. Because all of a sudden, you see him go, Lois? And he's like turning back, and it's just like Superman's love and stuff is overtaking Trigon, who they couldn't even handle by themselves when they tried to fight him before. And you see the symbol, the greatness, the symbol come up, and it's this symbol and not the Trigon demon symbol, which I thought was so cool that we saw different versions of Superman's symbol. We saw the Kryptonian symbol of hope with kryptonite, then we saw the Trigon demonic version. And you start seeing him now. Remember, Superman's in regular clothes. He's depowered. He has a beard. His hair is kind of long. So he's going through this whole thing. And all of a sudden, Lois is like, I love you. Boom! Like that. And I'm like, yo, did they really just kill Lois Lane? And because she told him to, no matter what happens, I need you to fight on. And he's like, Lois. And you literally see him form the Superman suit out of this sheer. He's like, no, Trigon, you're gonna change reality and make these into my suit. And then Trigon turns into like the smoke thing, and Darkseid like goes, yep, gotcha. And he uses his trap bubble. And yo, when you watch the first joint, and you even watch Superman Batman Apokolips where they're fighting him, and you see this, even compared to the Justice League fight, this is the most BA Superman you've seen. Superman looked at Darkseid like, yeah, and Superman was like, you took everything. I was like, oh shoot, Superman had him talking about something, I'm like, you took everything. I'm like, are you beating him like an 80s child where you beat us on the syllable? Talking about some, the Darkseid would hit him. Where normally you see Darkseid kind of go, yeah, Kryptonian, boom, over there. Nope, Superman. I was like, yo! And you see him go back and forth, and it's just like, no. I'm like, yo, they is getting it in. And every time you see Darkseid do something, Superman's on top of him. Talking about some, come here. Boom! And you actually see Superman and Darkseid go blow for blow. And like Darkseid will be hitting him, and all of a sudden, like he's like, I have you now, Kryptonian. Or like, I'm impressed with you. And then Superman's like, I don't even care. And you see him like do the blast, and Superman eats that and blasts them and just doom and starts knocking them. And I'm talking about their full wholesale. Superman is giving Darkseid the business. Darkseid's eating it though. But one of the best things that happened, because Superman was so pissed, because Darkseid's a power, so Darkseid starts getting him. Superman says something, and he's like, oh, for Omega beams, takes his thumbs right into his eyes. I was like, yo, and he grabs him by the head and like Hulk. I'm like, this fight is incredible. And it was just like so many cool things. John Constantine learned some stuff. And there's something that happens with Trigon and everything. Like I said, I'm not gonna spoil everything. I want you to see it, but I have to get that stuff out. And then you see something happening, and the world, because it lost a good section of the magma, the Earth is off its axis. So they said like there's gonna be I think 1 billion people that may die. Like they're in a lot of trouble. It reminded me of Infinity Wars kind of ending, and Constantine tells him, you know what to do, and they're like going over the thing with Flash, and it kind of ended how it started, which I thought was awesome and interesting. And things like changed, and you see people that were there, and they're in their place. So this is what I think is happening. Now I heard about Superman Man of Tomorrow, and I think that's the reboot. I think they're doing a reboot to the universe again. But this time they want to do something that makes sense to add, and they didn't want to keep time skipping, and they wanted a fresh take. So I think that's why, because I heard Jonathan Kent's going to be in it. So I think what they're going to do is that they're going to do it like this was like a New 52, which I thought was they handled it beautifully. Now I think we're going to get into that rebirth stuff. So I think we're going to start seeing more stories. Hopefully they're still connected. I know it's the same studio. I love this connected thing with the side ones, and it's like a string of cinematic universe. So yeah, that's what I think Man of Tomorrow is. I think Man of Tomorrow is going to be the start of something new, especially because if I'm hearing that Jonathan is in it, and then it's like, okay, so has he been Superman the whole time? Where's this start? Because Rebirth, they had the thing with Jonathan. So that's what I think is happening. I think they're doing kind of like now a Rebirth universe. That's just my theory. I could be completely wrong. Please don't take my word for it. But if you've watched the other movies and you bump with them, check this out. If you didn't, I suggest going back. But even if you don't, it can stand on its own 2 feet. Check this out. Like I said, it blew my mind. I'm sorry it's long, but I loved it. I got way more videos to come. I need to talk about DC's thing, and then I got to get back to Star Wars. They're coming. My Star Wars videos, actually, I have a couple of them done. I want to get ahead, so I got a few more to do. I got some stuff. I want to talk about DC's current state. I want to talk about Marvel's current state with the comic book industry. I think Boom said something. I have a note here. And I want to talk about what's been going on with Patreon and what's been going on Kickstarter. So I got like a few things coming down the pike, basically. Yo, stay safe, stay healthy. This is Geek Protagonist, another powered up review all the way up. I'll see ya, and Naughty Dog, you still suck. Hey, this is the Geek Protagonist. Thank you for visiting my channel. Like, subscribe, share. Tell me what you think. You heard my thoughts. And also hit that bell notification so you can be aware of any videos I do. Just click. And just take care of yourselves. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming to my channel. I appreciate you sharing this time with me. All right? So, the Geek Protagonist is out, and discuss in the comments. Suggestions, anything. See ya.